All right, let's go to this brawl that's erupting this afternoon between the Australian Workers' Union and the Federal Labor Resources Minister, Madeleine King. The union have called Labor's gas policy a dud. Dan Walton, who's the head of the union, says it's time for Labor to walk the talk on gas and protecting jobs. And he said, and I quote, the federal government has rightly stated it wants Australia to become a manufacturing powerhouse. Well, there's zero chance of that, he says, while it maintains its current stance on gas. Doesn't get stronger than that, James Morrow.
No, and Dan Walton, the head of the AWU, really took no prisoners in his statement about Labor there. He said that basically Madeleine King was sold a pup by signing this heads of agreement with the heads of the major gas companies, which they made a huge song and dance about down in Canberra during the last sitting session. And I think he's absolutely right. You know, you simply cannot have manufacturing in a country that is so abundantly rich in natural gas and coal and everything else, you know, in terms of resources, when we don't do anything to preserve that for our own local manufacturers. And in fact, then on top of that, you lard this whole other problem where you're just simply saying, you know, gas is the enemy, coal is the enemy, everything's the enemy. In terms of manufacturing and power, we should have cheap power, not some of the most expensive power in the world. It's a huge problem, and I think Dan Walton is completely correct on this one.
All right, Claire, so what's your view of the Mark Latham play? We hear today he'll quit the upper house, run in the lower house for a lower house seat at the March state election in New South Wales. It's an attempt to get more of his One Nation colleagues or candidates into the parliament. Pretty risky. Is he likely to almost put on hold that upper house seat, do some sort of deal to go back there if he doesn't win in the lower house? What do you think?
I think that's probably likely, but let's not forget here, Mark Latham is without question one of the best retail politicians in the country. He has a dynamic personal following. I think he's obviously trying to, make sure that One Nation's policies can be championed in the lower house, which will obviously help their causes, and they'll be able to keep a closer eye on what's going on down there. Look, I think he's a really big chance of annexing that particular ambition. I think he's, as I say, I think he makes a lot of sense. He certainly appeals to a big cohort of voters out there who know and understand what his policies are.
James, just a quick one. Do we know the seat he's talking about running for?
Well, I think that my understanding of it is that he's going to contest again in the upper house. So he's sat, it's an 8-year term there, but he's sat for 4. So he's going to resign, recontest, lead the top of the ticket is my understanding. So his name is up top. The thing is about New South Wales, there's an awful lot of voters who are very annoyed with the Perrottet government because they think they've gone too woke and too soft on too many things, but they don't want to vote for Labor. And so he's going to pick up an awful lot of that grassroots conservative populist vote.
So he's
and I think he'll do well.
So let me get that right. We're not talking about a lower house run. We're talking about him placing himself again for brand recognition at the top of the ticket to drive votes across. Got it. Well,
that's my understanding,
that is a very
Peta.
sharp
But
and cunning move.
Yeah.
That's a very sharp and cunning move. Gentlemen, got to leave it there. James Morrow and the wonderful Peta Credlin. See you next week.